The night before brain surgery, I thought about death. I searched out my larger values and I asked myself, if I was going to die, did I want to do it fighting and clawing or in peaceful surrender? What sort of character did I hope to show? Was I content with myself and what I had done with my life so far? I decided that I was essentially a good person, although I could have been better. But at the same time, I understood that cancer didn't care. Lance Armstrong. What if you went into the hospital with no prior expectation of experiencing a situation that could change your life, perhaps even your future? Surgeons and nurses pass you as you lay on the operating table for a simple procedure. You slowly fade out with anesthesia. You blink your eyes open and realize that you can't hear the nurses as they open their mouths to talk to you. The nurses write down on a whiteboard that there is a chance that you could be changed forever. The hospital staff made an error, a simple one, however a life-changing mistake. They overdosed the anesthesia, causing you to become death. Naturally, after the situation, you are distraught and want to prevent other patients from undergoing the same mistake, and you want compensation for your loss. Thus, you sue the hospital. This is where medical malpractice becomes necessary. Attorneys practicing medical malpractice realize the breach in care of the hospital and the importance of holding them accountable to their decisions and to protect future and current patients, which is why I chose to pursue a study of medical malpractice alongside an attorney with knowledge of the field. So, about me, my name is Lauren Olvera. This is my second year in ISM. I'm a senior at Frisco High School. Last year, I studied litigation and transactional law with my mentor, Allison Cross, at Strasburger and Price. One thing that I really wanted to focus on this year was being able to get a mentor who actually had experience in that field. Mrs. Cross did have some experience with litigation, but not the kind that I had hoped for. She had more experience in transactional law. So later on, I'll talk about my mentor. Last year, I also researched the healthcare bill and wrote an amendment to the healthcare bill, and I studied the Hobby Lobby case. So just some more about me. I love volunteering. I'm a part of the National Honor Society, the National Technology Honor Society, Student Council. I'm a Breathe Girls Bible Study leader, and I'm also a leader at Hunt Middle School for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Like I said, I love volunteering, so naturally I enjoy going on mission trips with my choir at Prestonwood. I've been to Nashville, Tennessee, New York City, Seattle, Washington, Vancouver, British Columbia, Washington, D.C., and this summer I'm super excited to be going to London and Edinburgh in Scotland. So I think overall volunteering has really influenced my choice to pursue medical malpractice law, in that I just want to help people and I want to be able to prevent them from undergoing that kind of pain of the hospital breaching their duty and not not being able to protect the patient well enough or carry out their duty. Medical malpractice, as defined by the dictionary, is a professional negligence by act or omission by a healthcare provider in which the treatment provided falls below the accepted standard of practice in the medical community and causes injury or death to the patient, with most cases involving medical error. Medical malpractice also involves, and these are just some points that my mentor talked to me about, it involves protecting the plaintiff, often the patient at the hospital or their family. Attorneys in medical malpractice often use medical records to prove their case and go to court to present the case to a jury. The case often includes the idea that the doctor or the hospital, like I previously stated, owed the patient a duty and was held to a responsibility which was eventually breached. I have grown up in an environment or my parents have encouraged me to pursue knowledge and truth in everything. They have also been there to push me past my limits and to do my best in everything I accomplish, which has inspired me to find a career that I am meant to be in before attending college. As I was researching quotes for my portfolio, I found some advice from Mark Cuban, billionaire owner of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks, which resonated with my decision about my career choice. The inspiration I got from the quote was his challenge to forget about finding your passion, instead focus on finding big problems. This is something I have been considering as I research fields in law, specifically medical malpractice. What can I solve in the medical field using my knowledge in the legal system? What problems with the system are directly affecting citizens today? Keeping this in mind has influenced my choice of attorneys to interview and which field I want to pursue because of my discussions with them. On to interviews. I just wanted to introduce you to my mentor first, Amanda Lothmiller. She also works at Strasburger and Price. Mrs. Lothmiller said that she enjoys being an attorney because of the reward of being able to solve challenging and difficult problems. And she was also on the high school debate team, and she said that cross-examination really helped her develop her analysis of evidence and building case preferences. And I think this was kind of where I connected with my mentor, and that both of us were on the debate team, and I found that the point that she brought across was very similar to how I felt about debate and how I felt about law, and the connection between the two. As far as being able to research and putting in time and effort to look up different legal documents and such. She attended Baylor for undergraduate in political science and speech communication, and she attended Texas Tech for law school. She works in consumer finance litigation, which involves the federal court and is often the client's suit. Consumer finance litigation often defends banks and debt collectors. But prior to working at Strasburger and Price, she actually practiced medical malpractice, which is what she had explained to me during our interview. Some of the recommendations that my mentor had was that I take business classes and, this is for financial litigation, and become familiar with economics in order to be involved in that field. Some of the skills that Ms. Lothmiller viewed as necessary to become an attorney are having thick skin and having good speaking and writing skills, which are incredibly imperative, as I'll explain later as I go into my original work as far as writing a deposition. In order to succeed in law school, Mrs. Lothmiller advised me to take good notes, ask questions to the professors, be bold, and be prepared to study because of the competition in law school, and also know how to cite different documents. She also encouraged me to take the law review, which is something that law schools offer involving mock trials, and it is beneficial for a future career as a lawyer. I enjoyed learning from Mrs. Lothmiller because of this experience that she has had in medical malpractice, which is a field that has recently interested me a lot. And next, I want to go into my previous interviews. I was able to interview David Fracht, who is involved in international law. So a lot of the stuff that he talked to me about was overseas, and he was involved in a trial with a reporter from Al Qaeda, or he was reportedly a reporter from Al Qaeda. But his plan was to defend him, and that was pretty much the whole case of the trial. So yeah, and he revealed a lot of problems to me with the soldiers' interrogation actions at Guantanamo Bay, which were really out of line for America, and it was really interesting being able to hear his side of the story and his opinion and his view, since he was able to directly talk to those clients and be able to see from that perspective, from their perspective, which is a lot that we see in today's news. Another attorney who I mentored was Matthew Marchant, who's a mayor at Collin County. He also works at Strasburger and Price as an attorney. He deals with city counties and special districts, financial services, governmental infrastructure, and land use and real estate. Some of his advice to me was to stay on task, to set a vision, and to develop relationships with clientele. It's really important that you develop relationships with your clients, because they're the ones who are going to be coming back to you, and if you don't have a good relationship with your client, then that they won't be able to contact you with their knowledge or their information, and it's just the best thing is really to have a good relationship with them. Some of his advice also for law school was to create a study group and to have flawless attendance. Mr. Ashworth was my last and final interview, and he's an assistant district attorney at Collin County. I really enjoyed being able to talk to him because I saw the criminal law side of things rather than what I had seen most of the time was litigation and transactional law. So it was really interesting being able to see kind of what we view mostly on TV or we hear about in the news. But I actually got to see the real side of the story from Mr. Ashworth. He explained to me that they deal with, his office deals with mostly white-collar crime, so that involves state and federal drug possession, DWI, murder, robberies, and anything else in that category of criminal law. Some of his advice to me was to take mock trial in college or high school and to work really hard when not needing to know how to improve. He also suggested that I learn how to study the material and that I make sure that I get a legitimate degree for a job before attending law school, just in case things didn't work out or I decided that I didn't like law, so I wanted to pursue something else. I would have that to fall back on. He said that what was most rewarding to him was winning a difficult case for a victim you believe in, which to him was achieving justice. And I kind of have that same perspective, and I got a lot of this perspective from other attorneys, that being able to receive that reward from working for clients and being able to see their justice they eventually achieved is really rewarding to each attorney. Next, I want to go into my original work. So the first thing that that my mentor and I decided was that we wanted to compose a deposition. In order to compose a deposition, I needed to utilize facts from the case. So I needed to pick a case that was involved in Texas because that was where her research database was centered on. And I needed to display possibilities to the hospital representative being interviewed. So during a deposition, it's kind of like an interview. So a hospital representative would come in and I would ask him questions that would point towards my case and ask him questions that could help my client and persuade the audience and hospital of the breach of duty towards the plaintiff or patient. So the case that I decided to study was Marks versus St. Luke's, and the Marks versus St. Luke's Hospital. Marks sued the hospital in this case, and he alleged that its negligence contributed to his fall. Here's just kind of a case summary of it. I'll read to you. He complained that the hospital was negligent in failing to train and supervise its nursing staff, failing to provide him with the assistance he was required for daily living activities, failing to provide him with a safe environment in which to recover, and providing a hospital bed that had been negligently assembled and maintained by the hospital's employees. The trial court concluded that Marks' petition asserted healthcare liability claims as defined under the Medical Liability and Insurance Improvement Act. Under this act, a healthcare liability claim must be sustained by a timely filed expert report, which is what he went ahead and submitted. But pretty much what happened in Mark's case was that he had just underwent back surgery 7 days ago, and he was at the hospital and he was lying in his bed, and he decided to get up for whatever reason, and he ended up falling and injuring himself. They were severe injuries, and so this is pretty much his claims that the hospital failed to do their duty and provide him with that safety. So here's the cause of action. So here are several of the cares that the plaintiff Marks believed were breached during his stay at the hospital. So failing to install and or maintain bed rails on the bed Mr. Marks used, failing to properly assemble and or maintain Mr. Marks' bed, failing to repair and or maintain the footboard to Mr. Marks' bed, failing to properly monitor Mr. Marks, failing to inspect Mr. Marks' bed, failing to implement adequate policies and procedures to inspect its hospital beds, failing to take precautions to prevent Mr. Marks' fall, failing to ensure that adequate policies and procedures were in place for the hiring, training, and supervision of the nurses, and failing to ensure that the persons hired to work at the hospital had a sufficient understanding of safety concerns for the patients and was competent to formulate policies and procedures for patient safety and quality assurance. For the deposition, my job is pretty much to prove that the hospital was negligent in the case and to defend the plaintiff Marks. The deposition involves writing questions for the hospital's representative, which prove that the hospital breached their duty. The first questions in the deposition address the beginning of the former patient's relationship with the hospital. The next set of questions visit when the surgery happened, the medication used, the side effects, the nurse assigned to the back surgery patient after his surgery, and the final questions ask about the condition of the room and the furniture, or about any similar previous cases that the hospital may have encountered. So I just wanted to kind of read out loud some of the questions on the deposition that I wrote down. So first of all, I have to ask the representative of the hospital, if he had encountered any other cases or depositions that dealt with the same kind of fault. So, have you ever been deposed? If so, when? Under what circumstances? Have you ever been deposed as a representative of St. Luke's Episcopal? If so, how many times? Nature of the matters you were deposed for, and have you ever been deposed regarding a patient's fall? So pretty much after that, I just go over the rules and how the procedure goes and make sure that he understands me clearly and my questions clearly before continuing on to the actual deposition. So for the deposition, for the pre-operation, I said, are you familiar with the hospital's policies and procedures for back surgery? So just, again, solidifying that he knows what he's talking about and that he's well aware of their procedures at the hospital. Walk me through each procedure. So it's really important, and this is something my mentor taught me, it's really important to make them feel not like you're interrogating them or anything like that, but you want to know what their knowledge is and how that affects the case. So it's really just kind of a friendly atmosphere, and it's very calm during the deposition. So some of the other questions that I have that deal with pre-operation are, did the patient have blood work done at the hospital before his surgery? Was it done at the hospital? Did a hospital employee review the blood work before the plaintiff's surgery? Was the blood work normal? And then also, it's really important just, emphasizing that again to make sure that they understand the standard of care so that you can prove that the hospital was either at wrong or if they were actually right to the jury. So another one is really making sure you understand the process that each patient goes through. So from how many days does the patient's recovery process take for having a back surgery? What kind of narcotics are the patients under, especially back patients? What's the average length time for back surgery patients to receive narcotics? Also, it's really important to state whether or not the narcotics had any side effects and how would that affect the patient, and would the nurses be aware of this, and would they be aware that they needed to watch him during all hours and assist him if he needed to go to the bathroom or not. And that was pretty much what I stated throughout the pre-op as well as the post-operation. And the post-operation dealt with medical assistance to the bathroom to just, make sure again that he has the same quality of care that other patients had in the hospital, and that the hospital is treating their patients with respect, and that they're treating them as they would anybody else. And also, it's important to note if the nurses assisting the plaintiff after enduring his back surgery had any special training, or if, the bed that he was on, if it had any special kind of footboard or anything like that, is incredibly imperative, because you want to make sure that they're well maintaining the bed, and that they're well maintaining, the staff is well aware of how to maintain the bed, because it needs to be in proper condition for each patient in order to prevent situations like this from happening. So, let's see. Something else, going off the deposition, Mrs. Loeffmiller had a deposition for financial litigation, which is why she came up with the idea for me to create a deposition, which was a lot of work at first, because I had to find a lot of different sources and information on this one case. And she was able to help me with that, specifically from the search engine LexisNexis, which a lot of the attorneys use to support the case and to develop questions for the hospital representative. It was really a long, tedious process, but in the span of a couple of weeks, I actually was able to accomplish a lot. So, especially after being able to discuss the process with my mentor, and having her help me was really beneficial to me. So here's my conclusion. Being able to research a case and write a deposition with my mentor has really helped me be able to experience what the kind of process that they go through, and how that affects, how medical malpractice affects patients individually, and as well as just overall it affects the hospital. I'm really enjoying my year so far at ISM, and I hope that I can develop a final product that will be hopefully even better than my original work. So I'm really excited to see where this journey takes me. Thank you.